my wife and I were married in 1975. And at that time, I was researching and writing a book called The World of Gurus, which is a study of Hindu gurus. And the Lord had laid upon our hearts to serve the rural poor. So we did not know what poverty is and what to do about it. But my family, my father had bought a plot of land when I was born. So we decided to go there because my brother was working on that plot of land and live there. I will continue to research and write. And this was basically in the middle of nowhere. We had no table and chair. We had no money. We had put a plank into the wall, and I would sit on a stool, write with my hand, and my wife sat on the other side of the bed, on another plank of wood. We had a little typewriter where she will edit and type my manuscript. It became a bestseller instantly in India and is still used in many universities as a study of Hindu gurus, the Hinduism of the 1970s and 80s, 60s, 70s largely. The book was published in 77. So while I did not have enough work for my wife for editing and typing, she would pick up her bicycle and go into the village. And she was surveying every family, trying to get to know every family. How many children are there? How many are studying? Who is not studying? Why not? What can be done to help them, etc. She ran into a 10, 12-year-old girl, Lalta, and asked her, how many brothers and sisters do you have? Lalta said 3, maybe 4. So Ruth was curious, do you have 3 or do you have 4 siblings?
3.5.
She said, well, 3, the 4th is almost dead. So Ruth said, can I come and see this 4th child? And so she took her home. Lalta took Ruth home. These are one-room huts. They have no kitchen or bathroom or anything, only one room. And in the middle of the room, there was a string cot with no mattress, no mat. And this 18-month-old girl, Sheila, was lying in the middle of that string cot. You couldn't see her face because flies had covered her completely. Pus was oozing out of her head, and she didn't have the strength to chase the flies away. She couldn't cry. I mean, she tried to cry, she only sighed. So when my wife looked at this girl, Ruth started crying and asked the mother what's wrong with it. The mother said, oh, she doesn't eat anything. Whatever we give her, she vomits. So have you taken her to the hospital? How can we go to the hospital? We don't have any money. But the civil hospital is free. Yeah, but I can't negotiate my way through the city, so we can't go to the city, take the baby to the city. But what about your husband? Why can't you take him to help you? Well, where does he have the time? So Ruth said, well, your daughter is dying. You don't have the time to take her to the hospital. Okay, I will come with you. So the mother tried to get rid of Ruth by saying, okay, I'll discuss it with my husband when he returns in the evening. So Ruth came home, began to ask me to go and talk to the husband. So when I went there, they had decided that they were not taking the baby to the hospital. Why not? We don't have any money. But my wife told you that she will give you the money. She will take the baby. No, we don't want to get into debt. No, this is not a loan. This is a gift from us. We'll write it that we are never going to ask for this money back. But where's the time? We don't have the time. But my wife told you that you can hire a laborer to look after your cattle and your farm for a day, and she will pay for it. So the husband got angry at me. This is our daughter. Why are you bothered?
Yeah.
I didn't know how to understand, how to respond to that. So I pretended to get angry and say, "Are you killing this girl? If you're killing her, why don't you pick up a knife and stab her to death? Why are you torturing her in this slow starvation death? Look, if you don't take her to the hospital tomorrow, I will go and bring the police here that you are murdering this child." This conversation was happening outside the house. The crowd had gathered, and one older man said to the father that, "Look, this young fellow is crazy. He might actually bring the police here, and if the police comes and takes the daughter to the hospital, then you will have to pay. Right now, they're offering to pay, so you do it." So next day, my wife took the child to the hospital, and but instead of going to the free civil hospital, she went to the mission hospital, which was part of the group that we were helping last weekend, how to strengthen these mission hospitals in rural areas where you can't earn a lot of money, and because the people are poor.
Yeah.
So the doctor was a wonderful Christian man, Dr. Martingalkar. He admitted the child, but you couldn't give her any medicine because she was so weak. So you had to feed her through intravenously. And after she had gained little strength, then he began to give medication. And then once she was strong enough to take some fluid through her nose, they put some tubes to begin to feed her fluid. And after a few weeks, Dr. Matagonka said that, "Look, the hospital bill is getting too high. You take the baby to your home. You look after the baby. We'll explain to you what to do. And I will come there personally every second, third day to look after her." So we did that, and the baby began to thrive. Our big joy was when she would, in our arms, smile, because there was no disposable napkins. We had no experience of how to raise a child, but she just began to thrive. And then a few weeks later, the mother came and began fighting that our caste is threatening to excommunicate us because we have given our child to you and you guys are Christians.
Wow.
So Ruth said that we have no intention of keeping your daughter. You take her. I will give you some clothes for her, and I will give you milk to buy. I will give you money to buy the milk. Well, in a few weeks, the child was back to square one because the milk was being fed to the boys. So she had two boys, twin brothers, two older brothers, and she was reduced to the early stage. So the whole process had to be repeated. Ruth fought with the mother, I fought with the father, took the child to the hospital. She was there for several weeks, then came to our home. She was there for several weeks again, joyful, thriving, recovering. And mother came and fought. And Ruth said that, "Sure, we want you to look after your own child. I will, but this time I will not give you the money for the milk. I will pay directly to the milkman." And but the mother took the child, and in 2 days the child was dead.
Yeah.
I was convinced that the parents wanted to kill the baby. Ruth didn't believe that any parent could kill their own baby. It took 3 more deaths like this before Ruth began to believe that infanticide, particularly female infanticide, is a common practice. This was a conflict of two cultures, the culture of death and culture of life. We believed that the child is a valuable gift of God, and if we invest in her, she can be a blessing. The family believed, the caste believed, that the girl's life was misery, as the Buddha, Gautam Buddha had said, that life is misery, life is suffering. Her mother's life was suffering, her grandmother's life was suffering, and this cannot be eradicated. We look after her for 10, 12 years, and then we get her married, but her family tortures her. She comes back to her parents' home to extract more money. Then she gets pregnant. She comes home to her mother's home, and they have to bear all the expenses of the delivery. So, life is misery. It's most compassionate to end this misery. Um, and so that's how the parents were working. But we believed that this child can actually deliver the whole family from poverty. She can deliver the village from poverty. She can deliver the state from poverty if we invest in her. But we lost because we didn't even really understand the culture, and we didn't understand that it was a clash of two worldviews. This was not just about a single child. And then, as a response, Ruth began Sheila Balvatika, that is, her name was Sheila, Sheila Children's Garden, a non-formal educational program where after school we would educate all the children. And that program grew into 13 villages. But the if the parents had a lawyer, the lawyer would say that, look, we're not doing anything which so many Americans don't do. When they don't want a baby, they abort the baby. We have no facilities for abortion here. We have no ultrasound is illegal. We don't know whether this is a boy or a girl. Most parents who don't want a second girl, because one girl is enough to look after their siblings in the home, second girl is a liability. So most parents get rid of the second girl the day she's born. We waited for 18 hours because 18 months because we did not want to kill the baby. It was a very painful decision to get rid of this baby, and killing the baby shows our compassion and our goodness that we took that long. Yeah. But basically, what we have done of killing the baby outside the womb is no different than what Americans do with killing the baby in the womb.
Yeah, that's a scathing indictment of the West and of America today, and only made possible by the fact that there was a point in time where the notion of killing a baby in the womb would have been unthinkable because of the foundations of our civilization, which we've now abandoned, and that other nations and other rural parts of India are accusing us of the abandonment of our own principles and holding themselves to the low moral standards that we've now held ourselves to. I mean, that's a pretty devastating indictment of where the United States is at with regard to the foundations of our nation.
Yes, of course, killing of infants, newborn babies, was a common practice in the Roman Empire because Europe did not have any more respect for human beings.
That's right.
Than India. What changed Europe was the discovery of the dignity of man. That a human being is different than other animals. You can kill chicken, you can kill cows, you can kill animals, but you cannot kill a human being because a human being is made in God's image.
Amen.
To be God's child. So a child is a trust given to parents to nurture, to build up. So the value of every human being in Western civilization, the whole concept of the dignity of man, came from not only the idea that the teaching that Adam and Eve were created in God's image and God breathed his own breath into Adam, which made him a creative creature, a godlike creature who creates culture. But also, the value of human life was determined by the blood that was shed on the cross on Calvary. Mm-hmm. If human being is so important that God would come to this earth and would shed his blood to reconcile his enemies, rebels, back to himself, and adopt them as his children, adopt us, embrace us as his bride. That's the blood of Jesus Christ defines the value of the child. That's how we were looking at this baby. The parents and the village and the caste that were for murdering the baby, they saw the baby as a liability.